Good morning. Please stand if you are with us in the sanctuary here, able to stand and sing. And if you are online, good morning, welcome. Please put yourself into a position of worship. Our first song is called Gathered Here. Gathered here in the mystery of this hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit, draw near. And we'll sing it all the way through after hearing Paul play, and then we will go for a canon, a round. So this group over here will be number 1, in the middle will be number 2, on this side will be number 3, and we'll sing it through a couple times. So listen to the people around you. Gathered here in the mystery of this hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit, draw near. Gathered here in the mystery of this hour, thinking that probably some of our Canadian brothers and sisters of the Mennonite faith might not be in church this morning, and maybe a couple of you. There's a really exciting hockey game going on right now. But we are here, and we are observing, we've begun the first Sunday in the season of Lent. And we're going to be joining with other Mennonite congregations in the ACC in our conference as we reflect on the theme of dwelling in dissonance. And you even heard a little bit of that in the tone of our opening song. And exciting is that we're going to use a set of worship materials that both Ashley and Arthur were involved in developing, and so as we walk through this season. So today, we often think of grief and love as very different emotions, but this week we're challenged to think about the dissonance of their relationship to one another. So pay attention to Jesus' words and actions and the dissonance they stir up in us. Before we move on to the call of worship, actually I didn't carry it up, but I want to remind you of that colored card in your bulletin. That's our connection card, and it's a way that both we know you're here, but also is a way so we can know if there's something you'd like to learn about the church or something we can be praying for. So before the offering, we ask that you fill that out. But for now, please join me in this responsive call to worship. Do we have the... Okay, well then I will make it a non-responsive call to worship. As we step into Lent, we say welcome to the dissonance. We reserve a space for the lament and grief to stay a while and do their work. We release our nice little pictures of perfect selves, perfect faith, perfect world, and look for God in the heartache. We listen for God in discordant melodies and follow Jesus to the cross, though we don't understand and it doesn't compute. As we step into Lent, we say welcome to the Dissonance, trusting that God is here in the mystery before it is resolved. Amen.
We'll continue in worship with two more songs, Stand in Spirit or in Body. And the words of these hymns hold that dissonance that Rebecca spoke about, suffering and joy, joy and pain, throughout all the songs that we'll sing this morning.
Hello? I'd like the children to come forward for the children's moment, please. All right. Ready for some snow this afternoon? No, me neither. I've got mixed feelings. All right, so I want to just make a quick comment about the series of children's moments we plan for the next 5 Sundays. The season of Lent is a way to start your time together. The season of Lent is the 40 days leading up to Easter. It's a time to think about who Jesus is, what Jesus taught, and what Jesus did for us. Some people even give up something they really like for this season so that they spend more time reflecting on God. For the next 5 Sundays, we'll be talking about how things turn out differently than we might expect. The children's moments during these Sundays will tell some stories which make us ask, how does this work? How did that happen? So, I want to mention, first of all, there are many, many names for God. God is too big just to have one name. The name for God this morning I want to think about is God our Restorer. There's a Hebrew word for that, Jehovah Rapha. Say that with me, Jehovah Rapha.
Jehovah Rapha.
What do you think the word restorer means?
Like to make something become whole again?
To fix something that's broken?
To put something back.
Those are all really good thoughts about a really important word. I'm thinking about also how that God restores life, God restores health, and God restores our joy. So all the things you mentioned, it's a big word, a really important word. I'm going to read a story from John 11. I'll keep the picture private because, at least until the end, because it's kind of a spoiler alert at the end. So the title is Lazarus, Come Out. Winter came. Jesus went to Jerusalem for the festival of the dedication. Some of the leaders there tried to arrest him. He escaped with his disciples and went to a small town across the Jordan River. A message came from his friends Mary and Martha, who lived in Bethany. Their brother, Lazarus, was very sick. Could Jesus come and help? Jesus loved them very much, yet he waited 2 more days before going to their home. By that time, Lazarus had been dead for 4 days. Martha and Mary's friends came to comfort them. When Martha heard that Jesus was coming, she hurried out to meet him. "If you had come sooner, my brother would not have died," she said. "But even still, I know that God will give you whatever you ask." Jesus said, "Lazarus will live again. I am the resurrection and the life. Anyone who believes in me will never die. Do you believe this?" Martha said, "I believe that you are the Messiah, the Son of God, the one who has come to save us." Martha went back home and told Mary, "The teacher is calling for you." Mary ran out to greet Jesus. Her friends followed. She knelt at his feet, weeping. Through her tears, she said, "If you had been here, my brother would not have died." Jesus saw her tears and was deeply moved. He began to cry too. Then Jesus, the sisters, and their friends went to the tomb. "Take away the stone in front of the tomb," Jesus said. But Martha said, "He has been dead for 4 days. It already smells bad." "Do you not remember my words?" Jesus asked. "If you believe, you will see the story of God." So, There's the picture. They took away the stone. Can you see? They took away the stone. Jesus looked up and prayed, "Thank you, God, for hearing me." Then he called out with a loud voice, "Lazarus, come out." Lazarus did. His hands, feet, and face were wrapped with strips of cloth. Jesus said, "Remove the cloth and let him go." Pretty amazing story. I am thinking about the story of Lazarus. In a way, that's restoring life. It's restoring health also. We know that God heals because God gave us a miraculous and amazing body. We're just the helpers. Whether you're a doctor, a nurse, or somebody else, we just help. God does the healing. I want to tell you a little personal story real quick. I was 7 years old, and our family went to the New York City World's Fair, where they had huge exhibitions from all around the world. One of the ones I recall was a huge Ferris wheel, like a big tire that you went around and around in. It was really cool. I bought as a souvenir a huge pencil that was, had on the side of it World's Fair, a great souvenir. I went home, I was 7, and I decided the next week I was going to make sure it was sharp. It was dull, right? And so I found a knife. Did not ask permission. I was 7. I'll keep that in mind. And guess what happened?
You cut yourself. You cut yourself?
How'd you guess?
Because you were 7 and
All right.
had a knife.
Okay, come around here. I'm going to show you something. No, pencil went away. So I got better, okay? I do have a scar, but I got better. And think about healing. What it is that happened to me, what happened to each one of you, I'm sure about, whether you got cuts, scrapes, broken bones. There is healing that's pretty amazing. Almost as amazing as somebody being raised from the dead. Think about all those cells happening in your body, getting things together. Who wants to volunteer? One quick thing, okay? Volunteer to rip this paper in half, okay? All right. Eli? Okay, give me that back, and I'm going to put it here on the floor. All right. If I just let that there and come back in 1 week, will that be healed?
No.
How come? My finger healed.
It's because it's not alive.
What? Abiotic. I like that word. The fact is that God has breathed life into our bodies. And life means we heal. It's a miracle. Okay? Think about it when you go home, okay? So when I look at my finger, I think about how that God heals. When I have a cut, it'll heal. If I feel sad, there's healing. Sometimes there's a scar. Sometimes we're not the same as we were before, but we're healed. So, one more thing. Then I'm going to have a short prayer, okay? You may have somebody you meet today, maybe yourself, who needs some healing. Everyone take a Band-Aid, okay?
I guess. I don't know.
Okay, why don't we say a prayer now, okay? We're passing that around. You can hold on to those, Asher. Let's pray. Jesus, thank you that you're the restorer, restoring our lives, our health, and our joy. We know that your answer to our prayers isn't always what we think the answer should be. Help us to trust you even then. Amen.
The children and youth are going to sing two songs. The words, looks like Ashley's got them on the screen. They're in your hymnal too. 282 is the first one, and then 309 is the second one. We'll roll right from one to the next. In 309, I'm going to ask you to sing the refrain with us. So we'll sing it 2 times with you guys. I'll turn to you when that happens.
Tempted we enter the desert.
and trusting we turn from destruction, wondering what you will bring. God of the present, the past, and the future, come and do a new thing. Find us empty and wandering, we the lost and the least. Find us in the wilderness and fill us with your peace. Find us empty and wandering, we the lost and the least. Find us in the wilderness and fill us with your peace. Find us empty and wandering, we the lost and the least. Find us in the wilderness and fill us with your peace.
Lazarus was very ill. His sisters Martha and Mary sent word to Jesus. But Jesus still didn't come, and Lazarus died. By the time Jesus showed up, Lazarus had been dead 4 days. Still, when she heard he was coming, Martha went out to meet Jesus and said to him,
Lord, if you had been here,
Where were you?
What took you so long?
How could you not come?
my brother would not have died. But even now, I know that God will give you whatever you ask.
Ask.
Do something.
But what can he do now?
Jesus said, your brother will rise again. Jesus said, I am the resurrection and the life. Jesus said, do you believe this? A little later, Mary came. She fell too at Jesus' feet and said,
Lord, if you had been here,
Where were you?
We needed you.
We needed you.
my brother would not have died.
Mary and all those with her were crying. Jesus said, where have you laid him? And then Jesus wept. Those who saw said,
See how he loved him?
The tears.
You can tell.
Such grief.
but the others said,
Couldn't he have kept this man from dying?
He healed others.
If he can open the eyes of a man born blind.
Where was he 4 days ago?
Jesus said, remove the stone.
What?
The smell.
Is he serious?
Jesus said, you will see God's glory. Jesus said, Lazarus, come out. And the dead man came out, restored to his previous life, hindered only by the grave clothes still tied around him.
I am really glad that during this season we have so many really good things in our service. And so thank you, Joanne, for organizing, kind of all this stuff that just happened. Songs and dramas. Some of those are pulled from the materials, but she's organized them. And you'll see over the course of Lent, we're going to have a lot of really fun and interactive parts of our service. I'm really looking forward to that. And I'm thankful for so many people who have helped and who do help regularly to get all these things put together on a regular basis, week by week. I want to say, as we begin this new series, hi, I'm Arthur, if I haven't met you before, I should say that. My name tag is sitting over there, not around my neck. Many of you know that Margie and I just got back from a trip to South Africa, and I've been able to speak with some of you and talk a little bit about it. But actually, part of the reflection on that time fits really well with our text and with our service this morning, because You may know that we went to South Africa for the occasion of her father's memorial service. That's the reason that we took the trip now. And many of you will be aware of or relate to the fact that in times like this, there is just a lot of business that has to be done. There's so many arrangements and admin and conversations and decisions that for many, time around a death, particularly a close person that we are needing to be responsible for, all the feelings have to kind of wait because you're just busy doing all of the things. This is, many of you can relate to that. I can see that is the case. And so kind of the grief has to, you kind of have to push it down a little bit, or it comes out in ways and times that you don't want, because it comes out when you have a moment for it to kind of seek out or burst out in a conversation or a moment of quiet, or when someone cuts you off in traffic or something like this. So, and then too, that in a time like this, you can imagine that all of the other issues are still there as well, right? You're there to deal with a particular thing. In this case, you're with family, right? And so I don't know all of your family stories, but all of us have complex relationships with our families, do we not? And so both the good moments and the difficult moments and the thing that always bothers us about that person still bothers us about that person, and the relationship we have with this person is still the relationship that we have with this person, even though we're in this particular moment. So that is going on, and then just all the normal life that you have beyond what you're needing to focus on, that's still happening too. You're still working or paying bills or following up with people or all that kind of stuff. So that is all going on. I will add, too, that in our particular case, because of the nature of the trip, we were staying, we stayed in a few different places with different people, and so you're never home, right? So you're in this most complex, difficult time, and you're just staying in a room. You're staying in a room here. And in our case, I would say, Margie and I are both more introverted people and need space to process, just space to be alone. And when you're staying together in a one-room thing in someone else's house, there's just no room. And it was really hard. All of those things are really hard kind of on top of each other. There were good things. There were good moments, I think, with family and some others, just reconnecting, catching up, conversations that you've never had time to get to, you get to. I also tell people, and I believe this is true, that you often have better conversations about maybe the person who's passed than you ever have, because you've never needed to talk about that. And you tell a story, or you hear a story from a relative that you didn't know. So there's some beautiful moments weaved into a time like this. We got to hike a little bit. It was summer. That was pretty good because we were there while you were in the coldest it's been in forever. But then we also came home, and I've said this to some of you, I came home with some sort of stomach bug, and we're just tired and exhausted and stressed out. And so that's kind of how those 3 weeks were. So I say that all just to say, and many of you have heard parts of this already anyway. But I think whether you have had a moment like that in your life or just other moments that people can relate, that we all have this is life. Life is all of that. That is a microcosm, I guess you might say, or a concentrated amount of life. Things of mortality and sickness and death, but also birthdays and accomplishments and things that, like Ashley talked about last week, that they're all happening at the same time. And I like that with this week's theme, which you'll see in the bulletin, love and grief, glory and belief. These are all things that are kind of mentioned in the text that we've had the drama from this morning. And those often come concurrently. Right? We don't have much life where we get to only have one of those moments or emotions. And it fits really well within the series that we're going to be doing, the series called Dwelling in Dissonance, this idea of these things that do not fit together. And how do we live in the space of things that do not fit together? Because that is the space in which we live. And I think our text this morning, or the text that they acted out for us, along that others that we're going to be looking at will ask us to sit in some of these hard places and say, what does it mean to live here? That's really what we're going to be going after through all of Lent. So our drama this morning, if you want to look at this later, recounts a story that's in John chapter 11. It's actually verses 1 through 44 for your reference. We find Jesus in a very relatable situation. I just related a very similar situation. You have been in situations like this. The death of a loved one. And you'll notice that unlike a number of other stories in the Gospels where Jesus is interacting with, teaching, healing people, this story centers around friends of Jesus. Mary, Martha, and Lazarus were friends of Jesus. So they weren't just kind of someone he encountered on the road. And I was thinking about that partially in light of what I was saying before about our trip to South Africa, because I professionally have walked with all kinds of people through seasons of death and of life and of birth. But it's different when you are going through it yourself. I still have my professional knowledge, but now all the personal feelings, all the relationships are different. When I'm helping a family, I'm not their family. I'm not having to be in. I'm just helping shepherd their time. But when you're in it, there's so much more. And I think that is what Jesus experienced here as well. So word was sent to him that his friend, Lazarus, was ill. And as we kind of heard, he didn't rush to get there. He didn't rush to get there. Because we know that when he arrived, Lazarus had already been dead for 4 days. So it was at least 4 days, right? And Mary and Martha, the sisters of this man, his friend, react as we all would, I believe. If you had been here, my brother would not have died. We know you can do something. We've seen you heal, like Jonathan talked about. We've been with you as you've done that. Where were you? These are the questions that we ask on a daily basis. Why doesn't God ... What could we have done differently? What could I have said differently if I only had? My hunch is that probably most of us have said that this past week about something or other. What if? Or about something going on in our world or in our community. There's lots of those, right? How can this be? What can be done? So what do we expect of Jesus here? I think they have a very legitimate question to their friend Jesus, who they've seen heal people. I'll just point out maybe two things that we see about Jesus here that are important. One is that he is deeply disturbed, is the translation that we have in English. It's stated several times, as a matter of fact. His friend died. His other friends, the sisters of this friend, are struggling. And he's not dispassionate. I don't know how we picture God, but that's probably how I picture God, as sort of like, oh yeah, that's okay. He is not dispassionate. He is deeply disturbed. Because I think grief and love are connected. Grief is an expression of love. Grief is an expression of love that is strained. Grief is an expression of love that is lost. Grief is an expression of love that is unfulfilled. We don't grieve things that we don't care about. We don't grieve people if we don't care. Jesus clearly has deep care. He is deeply disturbed. Yet, as he is grieving, he's speaking these words that are positive. And they have this conversation about resurrection, right? Which, so I would say in my role, and particularly when I was working as a hospital chaplain, you never want to give somebody overly simplistic answers or something that just sounds nice but probably isn't true. Like, that's just dishonest, right? And they have this conversation about resurrection because they're saying, if you had been here, he would not have died. And so to Martha, I think the first part of the story, he's like, oh, but don't worry, your brother is going to rise again. She's like, oh, yeah, no, of course, I understand, like, theologically. So at the end of time, something or other, people are all going to be raised again, right? We're not really sure exactly what they believed or what she believed, but some notion that people die and they're dead and that at some point they're not, something's going to happen, right? And I love this because he says, well, but not at the end of time. Okay, so obviously now he's foreshadowing that he's about to literally raise him from the dead. But then drops in this truth that resurrection starts now, not far off in the future, but now with me. This is super important. Like, this is really important about Jesus. And then he says, like, I am resurrection. It's just absolutely wonderful, like, very poetic. Like, I am resurrection itself. I am life. And so I'm going to demonstrate this with Lazarus, but it will be true of him not too long from now as well, right? This is like I'm doing this, and it's a foreshadowing, and it's an invitation to the reader, to all of us, where he says, everyone who believes in me. So now he's not talking about Lazarus anymore, right? Everyone who believes in me will never die. I really want to talk a lot more about that part, but I will not, because but to me, this is one of the assurances or hopes of my faith that fundamentally changes the way that I live. Knowing that though I will mortally die at some point, I will never die. And so I can live now with that in mind, rather than having to squeeze in every last moment until I die and it's all over. It's like I'm just on the first part of this journey. Things that we do to each other matter. They can matter maybe forever even, because Jesus is this resurrection and life and says, you can live forever starting now, not at the end of time. So that's all I can really say about it in this amount of time. And so I think this is why he's not all that rushed in this story. He didn't rush to Lazarus to fix or save him. When he arrives at the tomb, they're having those conversations. It's not like he just ran to the tomb and, there's this whole explanation, this interaction with people. Because somehow he holds all of this, like, together. This love and grief, belief, glory, all that stuff. He has perspective on God at work that we generally do not. He is looking for ways that God is going to work where we may not. He's not minimizing the difficulty. He is not ignoring the pain. This is very important. He's not over-spiritualizing to find a lesson. He's saying both are true. Both are true. This is horrible. This is sad. This is not how it's supposed to be, and there's more. Invites us in our suffering and through our suffering to something more, which I wish was more concrete at times. I wish it was more specific at times. But I believe the invitation is there. So for us, what is Jesus showing us? What comfort or encouragement as we are dwelling in uncomfortable dissonance in our own lives, in our own world of love and loss, of life and death. Things like chronic illness, barely scraping by financially, family strains, wars and more wars, ICE kidnappings in our community, environmental catastrophes, any number of seemingly impossible situations, whether personal or global. This story, Jesus in this story, I think tells us that is normal. Not how it's supposed to be, it's how it is, and it is hard. It is hard, and it's okay to be upset. I think a lot of us come from traditions where being upset is not nice and that's not okay. It's okay to be upset about things being hard or not how they're supposed to be. It is not faithless, but it is actually faithful to grieve, to ask questions, to cry. Those are actually acts of faith, not faithlessness. Because being deeply moved means we are alive to the reality of pain in and around us. That is fully living. It's the downside of fully living, but it comes with the package that Jesus had, the package that he gives to us. And hopefully, not only are we aware of all this suffering and pain in our lives and around us, but also to the Spirit of God that is groaning along with us and moving and finding ways and creating opportunities and opening invitations. So for us, how do we as a community make space for love and lament and grief? I think we do okay with this, but I want to encourage us to always be able to hear and sit with the uncomfortable things. They're uncomfortable. I don't want to be with uncomfortable things, but I know that we need to be in that space because that allows God to do something. And how do we look for possibilities, glimmers of God's glory or work, or opportunities for something, places where we don't see it? What does a resurrection look like in any situation? And how does Jesus help us to live now? I believe Jesus, this resurrection and life, is alive and is wanting to be part of what we are trying to live and figure out. So this week, we have a dead plant and an alive plant. And each week we're going to have some sort of image that goes with this idea. Because many times we think that a plant is dead. I do. I'm not really good with plants, as you all know. But sometimes it's just sleeping, or it's hibernating, or it's not in season. And resurrection, if you will, is coming. I saw some things poking up in our garden just this week. I know it's going to get snowed on again, but they're poking up. And one of the things that we've learned, and I appreciate living here in a place that actually has seasons as opposed to other places where I've lived that don't, is things aren't just there all the time. They sort of come and they go, and that's how it is. Do I like that? No, I'd rather they're there all the time. They're pretty flowers or whatever the thing is. So for us, I guess, what are the things in our life that feel hopeless, dead, strained, hurting, in need of resurrection? What might be happening? I don't know. More than we see. What can we hope for more than we could hope for? I'm aware that our trip to South Africa, though full and difficult in many ways, also was deep and rich and ultimately good in many ways. And I'm still waiting for some of that to come into the light, to be able to see it, because maybe it's a conversation that I didn't know was going to be impacting, but it will turn out to have been so, or a moment, or a decision. And I pray that for all of us, right? Whatever our things are, whatever hard, dark, difficult places we're in, that God would begin to give us glimpses. We would have little bits more of hope. We would hear the Spirit inviting us to what is, through those difficult things, in those difficult things, as a result even of these difficult things. So God, may that be so to us as we think about this, as we think about our own lives, as we think about it as a congregation, how to live well, how to live in this space of dissonance. Give us wisdom, we ask, in your name. Amen.
I encourage you to open your purple book to number 42. Could it be that God is singing? So that you can see the notes, listen to the words, to the voices around you. We're going to sing this largely a cappella. If you know it, sing strong on the first verse. And if you're learning it, maybe hum along or listen. On the second verse, high voices will sing and lower voices will hum. And then we will all join together in full volume for Hallelujah for my Jesus, the final verse. I'm just gonna